Hey everybody, Shuko here, and today's guide is going to be about the Odyssey Gaels, or Giles, or Gales. I'm not entirely sure how you would pronounce it, but the boss floor of Odyssey. And the best way that I would find that you can get points for your armor that you purchase from the bosses there. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind is when you first go there, you get your first entry for free, and you would be able to fight the tier 1 set of mobs. But if you have a friend who's further along, they can take you into any fight that they would have access to. And assuming that you win, then your progress would be marked as high as theirs was, for that particular fight anyway. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So there is a way to skip with this, but assuming that you don't have powerful friends, you would start with the tier 1. There are 4 monsters, and once you beat them, you can fight the tier 2, of which there are 6, the tier 3, of which I believe there are 6, and then finally the tier 4 Bumba. Now, what most people try to do in the beginning is they want to get their Niame leveled up. So, unless you have a friend who has access to a Vengeance level Bumba, there is going to be a little bit of grinding involved in this. So, it would involve essentially beating every single monster that you did initially for the core, all the way up to Bumba. And then you would have to go back in and beat at least a Vengeance level 1, though I would suggest you win Vengeance level 5 on all of them again, all the way up to Bumba. And then from there, what I would suggest you do is take your T1 people as high up as you can, up to V20 or even V25 if you have a strong enough group. Now, I know what I've said involves thousands and thousands of segments. So this is not for the weak-hearted. This is for people that want to fully augment their Odyssey gear, and it takes time. I've described it as the relic gear to a lot of people because it is harsh, but it is very powerful. In Path B, Niame winds up getting double attack, weapon skill damage, attack plus, accuracy. It is an absolutely solid set. And it's all jobs, which makes it even better. Now, obviously, certain jobs play better with some of the other sets too, but because of the all jobs aspect, Niame tends to be the first one augmented. So, for that case, we're going to discuss what I would consider the ideal path to augmenting the Niame set. Now, you could go in, you could fight Vengeance level fights over and over and over again until it's maxed out. Sure, that's a way to do it if you want. You would probably finish sometime in 2030 maybe. Or you could do it this way. Or some similar method to this. So let's describe it. I'm going to switch over to Shuko and try to explain some of these things then. Okay. So here we are in Shuko, and we're in Rabao. By Rabao HP 2, which is where the Odyssey boss crystal is. And you can't access the bosses until you've hiked through the first 3 Sheols, but the entrance is the same for all of them. This shiny here is what interacts all of the different things for both. Little Moogle pops up. Moglephone 1 is for the Sheols, with segment exchanges, which you get from the Sheols. You can buy scales, hides, and wings. Don't do that. Or the Moogle amplifier, or also Moglephone 2s. Now, I happen to have all 3 of the ones I need. We're going to talk a little bit about the Moogle amplifiers. Let's just buy 1 for now, but you can actually buy more. If you're trying to max out on a run of these, you could even technically go at 4. But that's enough of that for now. When you would go in here, you would essentially wind up loading up the Gaol, which is at the bottom of the menu, assuming you have your 3 Moglephone 2s. And let's load up the lobby. Now, it doesn't consume any Moglephone 2s just to go into the lobby. Now this is the lobby to the boss floor. There's a Porter Moogle, and I'll explain the reason for that in a moment. There's a Pilgrim Moogle, and this is essentially your Mog House basics, just job change and storage access. Now, the reason that you'll see these two here, and there's the boss entrance where you would select the bosses that you would do, is you can actually do 3 rounds here. This lobby timer of 15 minutes up here in the upper left, that continues. So like when you would enter, let's say there was 13 minutes left, and then you came back out to the lobby after a win or being timed out, those 13 minutes will still remain. And then you could prepare for the next battle, go back in, come back out, say, and 10 minutes was on the lobby, and those 10 minutes would remain. So this 15-minute lobby timer is its own unique property. When you go in on the boss floor, one of the Moglophone 2s are consumed, and they wind up giving you another 15 minutes to take on the boss. Most bosses, there's a couple that do, but most bosses do not regenerate, so you can go in multiple tries. You don't get sub-jobs here. You don't get trust more than once, and you don't get your Unity trust. So there's a lot of challenges here to make this uniquely challenging. But when you would be ready to go up to a boss, you would go up to the crystal, and then you'll see they do it in V order, or the start. So you have your first 4, then you go into the V2s, then we're at the V3s, all the way up to Bumba. So what I would suggest you would do is you would select one of your favorites of these. Personally, Gog Magog I think is a popular one because his ammo is good to augment as well. Or the summoner ammo or something. Depends on the party you have set up, or if you have enough mats to deal with the fight. But from there, then you would wind up selecting the highest vengeance that you could access. So at first, that's probably going to be the starter V0, which you won't even see this option. It'll just take you in. But then, after you win that, you'll have access to Vengeance 5, and you'll always have 5 more than the one you beat. So if you beat 5, you'll have access to 10. If you beat 10, you'll have access to 15. If you beat 15, you'll have access to 20. And if you beat 20, you'll have access to 25, being the highest currently in 2023. Then, I'm not actually going to enter for this for right now. I'm just trying to explain it. So, you would go in on a V25 or whatever the highest is, and try to get at least 6%. Some people say 5. I think 6 is a little safer. But you try to get as far as you can down. Even if you go further, even better. But that's the minimum you want to get for this multiplier to work. Come get kicked out to this lobby, and then go select a different monster, and go take 6% off of them. And then get kicked out to this lobby, and then go in again, and get 6% off of that monster. You can also go back in on the same monsters, but note that things get a little harder as their HPs get lower. The last thing I would point out is, anytime you go in here, any job that is used by anyone is locked out. So this can take a lot of finagling if you're setting up a 6-person party, because you will need 18 unique jobs to properly do this charge run. That being said, once you've run through this 3 times and gotten those percentages, when you exit, you'll have a notification saying that the Moogle or Mog Amp charge is ready. The message is not entirely translated accurately, but you'll have a notifier saying something about a Moogle Amp. That means that if you use your Moogle Amp, you'll get a massive multiplier, like 100 or more times the points you would usually get on the next battle that you would do. So at that point, I would rebuy 3 Moglophone 2s, come back into this lobby, and then use it. And I've demonstrated this in certain videos in the past too, of which I probably will clip into here. But you can get up to 5, 6, even 7,000 points doing it this way. But it takes a lot of segments. However, if you just go in, say, on a V15 Bumba without one of these and get it to half even, you may get 80, 100 RP versus thousands. So, thanks everybody. I just wanted to point that out. This might be a little bit of a shorter video today, but I wanted to explain what the idealized process is to maximize on your charge points. For whatever method, it doesn't have to be Bumba, it could be any of the bosses here. And frankly, it wasn't explained very well by people when it came out from the digest or the patch notes. Oh, and everybody, one last little trick I want to show for people that stay to the very end. And I want to just specify this with the asterisk that at some point they may patch this, but they have not patched this for a year plus now, and I don't think they're going to patch it. So I want to demonstrate two exploits that exist within the Gaols. So first, TP carries into the boss floor. So a few ways you could abuse this is with, for instance, Samurai. If you meditate and then change to the job that you need to be instead, so let's say I'm switching to a warrior, all that TP will go to my warrior instead, right? As you see it come down here, 900, 1200, and it'll just keep charging up, right? And then I'll go in and have a weapon skill right in the beginning of the fight, as long as I don't change my weapons. You can also use the Corsair's Tactician role to do this for the whole party. So that's something very useful, assuming everybody's on the right jobs. The last thing I'd point out, and that I can't demonstrate without people here, but when you're a Geomancer, if you entrust an indie buff onto another player, that indie buff will carry into it. So usually I would entrust like a Fury, a Haste, or an Accuracy, or sometimes defensive stuff, and then change to the job that I intend to. So specifically, if I was going to do this in order and I was the only person using these tricks, I would switch to Corsair, Tactician's role as best as I can to the highest number, and then from there, I would switch to Geomancer and start putting Indie and Trust on people. Reset my sub-job, another Indie and Trust, reset my sub-job, another Indie and Trust. Just wanted to give a little freebie tip. It still works as of 2023 and they haven't patched it. Unlike the Asylum, all buffs carry over, which they patched the very first month.